Chapter 9. Delusions of Villainy. "I'm sorry I'm late," Franklin said as he sat down across from his new patient. Miles Flashcaster, a skinny, freckle-faced college-age man, was standing in front of the office window, which was cracked open slightly, enjoying a breeze. He had his hands on his hips, and he was nodding to himself. For a moment, Franklin wondered if the patient was conducting his own therapy session and how well it was going. Flashcaster was wearing a bright orange one-piece jumpsuit with a large utility belt around his waist and a mask to match, and it was all made entirely out of duct tape. Franklin immediately picked up his clipboard and pen. It was going to be one of those days. "That's all right," Flashcaster said. "I was admiring the view. You have a beautiful office, sir." "Thank you," said Franklin. Flashcaster scowled and cursed under his breath. "Oh, I did it again." "You did what again?" "That's why I'm here. I really need your help." "What's the problem?" "I complimented you. Why can't I just keep my big mouth shut?" "You don't think you should be giving people compliments?" This was a new one to Franklin, even at Vlachtermat. It's not evil." Franklin nodded. The only people he knew who might have considered it evil to give a compliment were from the draw cab dimension, but they were backward about everything. Flashcaster ran a hand through his curly blonde hair and then leaned his head on his hand. "I need you to help me stop being so nice." "Why?" "I don't want to be nice at all. I want to be bad. Aren't you wondering about the suit?" "I wasn't going to mention it." "But you were wondering. I think it's dumb too, but I want to get it right. I want to be a real supervillain. I want to rule the world." "You're unsatisfied with your life so far." "That's fair, but are you sure being evil is the answer? What else are you good at?" "Not much. Mostly I just read comic books and watch war movies." Franklin might have guessed that. "Then perhaps you should try developing a talent involving your interests." "I'm already doing that. I want to rule the world. It's not like it's illegal or anything." "No," Franklin hesitated. "No, wanting to rule the world isn't illegal, but have you considered how realistic it is? My father always said it's the attempt that matters. Yet until now, you've spent all your time reading comics and watching war movies." "I never really paid much attention to my father," Flashcaster admitted, "but I'm tired of being useless, so I set the highest goal I could think of. If it's not realistic, maybe I could try taking over a little town somewhere and then work my way up." Franklin took off his glasses and massaged the bridge of his nose. "I'm not sure being too nice is really the problem. Are you sure being a supervillain is what you really want?" "You're missing the point," said Flashcaster. "I've already made up my mind. My only problem is that I don't know how to be evil. I really think becoming evil would fix that. I don't think it's in anyone's best interest for me to help you overcome your good nature so you can try to take over the planet." "Oh, really? I don't think so." "Oh, sorry to bother you then." Flashcaster stood up and walked toward the door, and his duct tape suit made a loud crunching sound with every step. "We still have some time left," said Franklin. "I came to the wrong place. I'm sorry, really. I know you want to help, but look at me. I'm apologizing and speaking in a soft, comforting tone. I really need some help. I just want to be evil." Flashcaster left and closed the door behind him. Poor kid. He was smart and able, he just needed some direction, and Franklin was afraid that the direction he'd chosen would either lead to the barrel of a gun or the bars of a jail cell. He pushed a button on his desk and called security. He asked them to keep an eye on Flashcaster, hoping he could prevent him from doing anything stupid, at least for a few days. He hoped Flashcaster was going through a temporary obsession, glorifying a larger-than-life idea because it was easier than living his real life. Considering what his life had been up to this point, Franklin thought there was a good chance he would decide being a supervillain was too hard and quit before he really tried. But just to be on the safe side, he had security secretly put a CVT, a cloaked visual tracer, on him. The CVT was an invisible tracker that would tell security where he was and provide a video feed, so they could see what Flashcaster saw without him spotting the tracker. Franklin still had 5 more patients left. He hoped his session with Flashcaster wouldn't set a precedent for his entire day. But on a positive note, at least he would have something interesting to tell William when they met at Croxon Club later that evening. Since Flashcaster had left so abruptly, Franklin decided to take the remaining time before his next appointment to rest for a while. His life had been non-stop insanity over the last month, and he was beyond stressed. He hadn't been sleeping well, his thoughts were almost always focused on the HR-120s and on Helena. There were so many questions he didn't have answers to, and he wasn't used to so much mystery in his own life. His job was to help others solve their own inner mysteries. Questions other people had were easy. Why do I feel this way? How do I cope with the fact that there's a fairly active interdimensional portal in the middle of my basement? These were pretty easy for Franklin. He was trained for questions like that. But his own questions were quite a bit harder. Why are androids out to kill me? How is it that I didn't notice I had 2 first names until I was 36 years old? Franklin leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, slowly breathed in and out, and tried to clear his mind. 3 minutes later, Bethany's nasally voice was ringing in his ears. "Boss, are you there?" He opened his eyes, frowned, and pressed another button on his desk. "It's Dr. Krill. She called for security a couple minutes ago. They're in the pocket dimension in her office trying to contain her pet velociraptor. It attacked her." "What?" "Helena Kathryn tried to kill Ava Krill, and you might not have to worry about your 3 o'clock. Helen is missing." When Franklin entered Krill's office for the second time that day, he found her in entirely different spirits. Her conical hat was lying in the middle of the floor, her hair was a mess, her makeup was running, and her tacky yellow dress was torn in the back. The snake was gone, probably hiding behind the sarcophagus. Krill was the kind of woman who, regardless of her bizarre nature, was known for being able to handle a lot of stress. But now she looked positively traumatized, exactly as one might expect to look after being attacked by a velociraptor. "Everything is under control," a security guard told Franklin upon his arrival. "Not until we find Helena." "Understood, sir. Dr. Krill says Helena came back here from the pocket dimension. We have search teams covering the grounds." "Good. Let me know as soon as you find her. Try not to hurt her." He said it before it even occurred to him that they probably couldn't get within 10 feet of Helena if she didn't want them to. "Yes, sir. And please, be careful. She's unlike anyone you've known." As the security team began to move out, Franklin knelt down in front of Krill, who was sitting on a leopard print couch, sipping something that looked like tar and was violently bubbling at the top. "She tried to kill me," Krill said. "I know. Can you tell me what happened?" Krill set down her drink, which bubbled over onto the table. "It isn't just her memories. Helena's timeline doesn't go back before her amnesia. You're saying there are no events before 6 months ago?" Dr. Krill nodded slowly, and Franklin knew there couldn't be a mistake. Matrulian skulls never failed. The Matrulians were an ancient, extinct race who had been tightly connected to the fabric of time. They could physically move backward or forward through any single person's timeline at will, but they couldn't change anything. They could go as far back as when the person became a sentient being, or as far forward as the person's death. This property was inherent in their genetic makeup, which was why their skulls, with the help of some magic, could now be used to view time, as long as someone with an especially Matrulian personality used them. Franklin couldn't imagine what Ava Krill had in common with the Matrulians, but he had often wondered if that similarity had anything to do with their extinction. Franklin asked, "And Helena attacked you when you told her this?" "I never had the chance to tell her anything," Krill said. "She grabbed me without any provocation and dragged me through the grand victory of Listeria and into my pocket dimension. She ripped open Rufus's cage with her bare hands. I managed to contact security before he did too much damage." She started crying. "I just don't understand. I've tried and tried, but apparently there's just no taming a velociraptor." Franklin handed Krill a tissue and waited until she had composed herself a little. He felt bad for her. This was a side of her he had never seen before. He was somewhat surprised to learn that she had feelings at all. "Ava, listen very carefully," said Franklin. "I need to know what changes you noticed in her personality. I know you only spent a short time with her, but are you sure it was Helena, or was it another personality?" Ava Krill slowly stood up and narrowed her eyes at Franklin. "I don't know. All I know is that she's dangerous. As far as the Matrulian skull is concerned, she's only 6 months old. She has 7 personalities and superhuman abilities. Do you know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like she was created, not born, maybe for some terrible purpose we can't begin to understand. I don't think you have any idea what you've let in here." She had a point. Franklin was responsible for Helena, and he had left her alone with someone she had expressly told him she didn't trust. He had to be more careful. If they could get Helena back to Vlachtermat, he would make sure new precautions were put into place. But Franklin didn't want to think about that now. The most important thing was finding Helena before she hurt anyone else. "This is my fault," Franklin told Krill. "It won't happen again." She relaxed a little and put a hand on his shoulder. "I trust you to do the right thing." He left Dr. Krill's office and headed for his own. He was glad to be out of there. He felt more uncomfortable with Krill now than he had earlier that morning. He canceled the rest of his appointments for the day and immediately went to work looking for Helena. This was his mess, and he was determined to clean it up. He just hoped it wouldn't get him killed. "Dr. Bryce," came a voice from his desk only a few moments later. "This is security. We've spotted Helena on the CVT you requested this morning." "What?" "She's in a car headed downtown, and she's with the gentleman wrapped in duct tape."